My name is Marcus. I am a happy but unfortunately single father of 2 children. My daughter is 6 and my boy is 10 years old. Every Christmas, I want to offer them the joy of receiving presents from Santa. So, I pay an online service for someone to dress up in a Santa Claus costume and come to our home to entertain the children. Since my boy was 3 years old, I hired the same guy every Christmas. But last year, I couldn't find any availability on that business to book. So I went to an open source website to search for such a service, and I found one. I usually trust other people and never encountered a problem online. Different profiles were on that website selling all imaginable kinds of services like cleaning, birthday parties, entertainers, handymen, and so on. One particular profile grabbed my attention, showing 11 years of experience with children, ticking all the boxes for my specific requests. I messaged the guy, telling him what I needed from him, where he would find the presents, and how we could manage for him to surprise the children while I was staying with them, gathered around the Christmas tree. I told him that I could leave the kitchen window a bit open for him to come through and surprise us by exclaiming, "Santa Claus is here, no more waiting, kids," to increase the excitement of the children. He accepted the offer by saying just, "Sure, I can do it." But after a couple of days, he sent me a weird text asking me a lot of questions about my kids and to show him some photos with them. I wasn't that suspicious at that moment, and I answered some of his questions, which seemed innocent back then. The first was if the kids are okay with strangers and if they scream in case they see a person stepping into our house. I supposed it was related to the fact that he would come as Santa and wanted to know how to interact better with them, so I said that they wouldn't have a problem with him. The second question was if their mother or anyone else is living with us. I said no. There's just us, so for him to enter as planned into our home and be spotted by someone and ruin the surprise won't be a worry. The third one was actually creepy and raised some concerns about this person. He asked me if I could turn off the lights in the house until he gets to the living room and surprises us just for the atmosphere. Although I didn't agree at first, I accepted his idea because it can make everything more enjoyable with just the Christmas tree lights on. 2 days before Christmas Eve, I received a call from the guy that I hired all these years to be the Santa, apologizing because their website has some technical problems and the booking system is down, asking me if I need their services this year, like usual, and also offered me a discount. Of course, I was pleased to say yes, and let the other man know that I found from the internet that I won't need his service anymore. He didn't reply. I guess he didn't care too much to bother. The Christmas Eve arrived and the children and I were sitting on the couch in our living room waiting for Santa Claus to come and see the kids happy. Santa came, turned on the lights, and asked my boy what presents he wants, how the school is going. You know, small talk between Santa and kids. The chilling moment was when my daughter patted my knee and asked me when her Santa will come in. I told her that this Santa is the only one for all children, and she will have her presents in a moment. But she insisted that she saw another Santa outside, in our backyard. I said, "Okay, I should check, but I can't leave the children alone with the Santa guy." So I told him that we have a little gift for him as well, and walked the children into their room and closed the door with the key. I went in a hurry to see what my daughter saw in our garden, and damn, she was right. I saw someone in a Santa Claus costume on the floor with blood coming from the head. I was shocked. I rushed into my kids' room, grabbed them, and went to our neighbors, assuring no one is following us. I called the police, told my neighbors what happened, and they were terrified as well. Unfortunately, when the police came to our house, the guy wasn't there anymore. They said he left just a few minutes ago. The saddest thing was that he killed the guy who I hired to be our Santa, an innocent, honest person who was truly kind and very good with kids. I can't imagine what could have happened to us if my daughter wouldn't have seen the other Santa in the garden. My name is Sam. I am 32 and I currently live in South London. I moved here with my parents at 15. First, I didn't like it because I missed my friends and the familiar places from home, but we had to move because my home country was terrible at that time and offered no possibilities for a better life. At 22, I moved into a shared house in Croydon. If you know that part of the city, you know is shocking dangerous. But I didn't have a huge budget for London, and with time, you can get used to it. You get to know what areas to avoid, especially after 10 p.m. But 1 year ago on Christmas Eve, after buying some stuff from a shop, I decided to skip the bus and hear home walking. The thing is that on my way home, from that store, I have to go through a dark part of the neighborhood, really infamous. The streets were empty, I was fine with the route and walked chill, enjoying the snow. From the eerie silence, I heard someone singing "Santa Claus is Coming to Town," just this line, but in a truly creepy way, not the original version of the song. The voice kept being closer to my ears and I turned my head back slowly, just to see where the person was standing and if there was anything wrong with me. I saw that was a tall man, not too young, not too old. I could tell only by his voice because his face was covered with a Santa mask and a hood on. I tried to walk faster and get home before it was too dark, but he was following the rhythm of my steps. That moment sent shivers down my spine and felt so unsafe. The street I walked by was not lit at all, darker than the others, and just a few houses with lights on. Usually on this period, people are gone on holidays. I turned to that creep and shouted to stop following me. What he did next was truly disturbing. The guy stopped singing, put his hand into his pocket, and got out a knife, pointing it towards me. I tried to keep my cool, my heart racing like a horse in a derby. My mind was spinning, urging me to run, but my feet were glued to the pavement. I couldn't risk making any sudden movements. "Look, man, I don't want any trouble," I stammered, my voice trembling. The masked figure stayed silent, his eyes fixated on mine, or at least, I think they were. It was hard to tell under that eerie Santa mask. I could hear the distant echo of my heartbeats. The situation was spiraling out of control faster than I could comprehend. Then, without warning, the man tilted his head, as if listening to something I couldn't hear. His stance relaxed, just a fraction. "You're not the one," he muttered, almost to himself. And then, in a sudden, swift move, he pocketed the knife and turned away, disappearing into the darkness from whence he came. I stood there, frozen in place for what felt like an eternity. The adrenaline rush was fading, leaving a hollow feeling in its wake. Trembling, I fumbled for my phone and dialed 999, reporting the incident as quickly as my shaking hands would allow. The police arrived shortly after, taking my statement and conducting a search of the area. But there was no sign of the man in the Santa mask. That night, sleep eluded me. Every creak of the floorboards and every rustle of the wind outside made me jump. I kept replaying the encounter in my mind, trying to make sense of what had happened. Who was that man, and why did he stop his pursuit so abruptly? Days turned into weeks, and Christmas approached like a looming shadow. I avoided that dark street, taking longer routes to get home, always on edge, constantly looking over my shoulder. But then, just when I thought the ordeal was behind me, strange things started happening. I'd catch glimpses of someone watching me from a distance. Footsteps echoed behind me, even in broad daylight. Each time I turned, there was no one there. The feeling of being followed haunted me, a chilling presence that refused to be shaken off. It was as if the man in the Santa mask had left an indelible mark on my life, a sinister shadow that lingered even when there was no one there. I couldn't shake the feeling that this was far from over, and as Christmas Eve approached once more, a sense of dread settled in my chest, whispering that something darker was about to unfold. It was 2021, we know what a year was. I had a holiday booked for 2020, but of course it was amended for the next year, so there we are, Bali, 2021, with my husband and our 3 children. After so many hours of flying, we got to the booked villa. Everything was perfect, as expected, but we requested a Christmas tree, just to feel more of the Xmas atmosphere. We got the tree, but the host said not to turn on the lights at night, to not get the attention of people that are in the next villa because they are anti-Christians and we won't be safe otherwise. Me and my instantly felt cringe, but moved our heads like we agreed. But in the evening, we turned on the lights without taking care of the host, talking about the people next door. What happened next is terrible and terrifying. The Christmas lights twinkled, bathing the villa in a cozy glow. Our kids were thrilled, laughing and playing around the tree. But there was this weird feeling in the air like something was off. At night, as we sat together, whispers started seeping in through the window. It was faint at first, but it grew louder, sending a chill down our spines. We stepped out thinking it was just our imagination, and that's when we saw them. Shadows moved in the other villa, doing this strange, eerie dance. It felt like they were up to something sinister, and I couldn't shake off that feeling. The lights started acting up too, flickering in this weird pattern. It was almost like they were trying to tell us something. Then came the screams. Piercing, bone-chilling screams. We wanted to go help, but fear rooted us to the spot. Panic set in as we realized our phones had no signal. We clung to each other, praying for dawn to break the horrifying grip this night had on us. But deep down, we knew that what happened that night was just the start of something far more terrifying. The screams pierced the night, filling us with a chilling dread. My husband and I exchanged terrified glances, unsure of what to do next. The echoes faded, leaving an eerie silence that seemed to suffocate us. Desperate for a sign of safety, we tried to retreat into our villa, but the Christmas lights flickered erratically, as though they were trying to warn us. It was unnerving, like they were echoing the chaos unfolding next door. As we stood frozen, a sudden movement caught our attention. Figures emerged from the shadows, shrouded in darkness and moving with an unsettling rhythm. Their faces were obscured, and they continued their haunting performance, seemingly unaware of our presence. Fear clenched my heart as I realized their dance was a macabre symphony, a disturbing spectacle that felt more like a ritual than mere movement. My husband and I exchanged frantic whispers, debating whether to intervene or seek help. But before we could decide, the figures abruptly stopped their dance, turning as one to face our direction. Their eyes, glinting in the dim moonlight, locked onto us. It felt as though they could see through the veil of night, staring directly into our souls. The air grew heavier, charged with an otherworldly energy that sent shivers down my spine. A voice, cold and hollow, cut through the silence. "You've trespassed where you shouldn't have," it whispered, chilling me to the core. The figures began to advance, their movements synchronized in a haunting, deliberate manner. In a rush of terror, we stumbled backward, rushing into the villa and bolting the door behind us. We huddled together, the children awakened by the commotion, their innocent eyes wide with fear. As the night pressed on, the air thickened with an oppressive aura. Whispers brushed against the windows, the chilling sound of something unknown trying to breach the safety of our refuge. We spent the remainder of that night huddled together, praying for the first light of dawn to break the grip of terror that had consumed us. But the fear lingered, an ominous presence that foretold of darker horrors yet to unfold.